Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Hodge. I'm the youth pastor here at Blue Springs Baptist Church. And so in an effort to minister to and love on each other in these times where we may not be able to meet in person, the youth here are going to be doing a series of devotional videos to send out here on Facebook and Instagram and a few other social media platforms. Because in a time when anxiety and fear are ever so present, it's good to be reminded of what God says. So down below, you'll also see a link to a Christian worship song to help encourage you as well. And so for me, my favorite Christian worship song at the moment is a song called Graves into Gardens by Elevation Worship. And the reason why I like this song so much is because it reminds me a lot of my own testimony. It talks about how people search for satisfaction in the world and they can't find it. Because God gives the only true satisfaction that lasts and that is good. And so it also reminds me a lot of how the God that we serve now is the God who performed the miracles in the Bible. And so it's the same God, and that God is still able to do these things. And so if you've got some time, I encourage you all to go listen to that video. It's a great song. And so now let's get into God's Word and see what He has for us. In Psalm 94, I'm going to be reading verses 16 through 19. And it says in verse 16, Who rises up for me against the wicked? Who stands up for me against evildoers? If the Lord had not been my help, my soul would have lived in the land of silence. When I thought my foot slips, your steadfast love, O Lord, held me up. When the cares of my heart are many, your consolations cheer my soul. And so the psalmist here is lamenting due to the oppression that is felt by the wicked. Mainly in verse 16 where it says the wicked and the evildoers, they were feeling this kind of oppression. And so he starts with this question by saying, well, who's got my back? Who stands up for me? Who fights for me? But he already knew the answer to these things. But oftentimes, whenever we start to feel the pressure from the world, it makes us feel alone. And I believe this is a tool used by the enemy because in our loneliness, our focus shifts away from God and onto ourselves, making us feel that loneliness, even though that God is still there and always is there. And whenever the psalmist kind of starts to feel this, he shifts back onto the Lord. In verse 17, where he says, "If the Lord had not been my help, my soul would soon have lived in the land of silence." He remembers how the Lord delivered him from whatever his past had been, and so in times of loneliness, remind yourself that God's love is steadfast, that it doesn't waver and it doesn't move, that it's with you, it's there with you, and that it doesn't leave you. And so in certain times like right now, lean in on the Lord, because if not, fear and anxiety can take hold. But God hasn't called us to fear. Instead, He's called us to be strong in Him. And so if there's any way that we can serve you, messages here on Facebook, or reach out to us however you need, because we're happy to help. Thank you and have a great day.